right timing with the right people. So, our whole goal here, new Mr. and Mrs. New Agent, is to teach you how to do those right things the right way. And as you're starting out, the three priorities that Joe and I always try to stress to all of our agents is number one, like a soldier, you want to be prepared for the field. So you want to get your new agent starter kit. Number two, you want to read the magic formula from page to page. This is the owner's manual. This is your instructions for being a final expense agent. And then number three, you want to know the in-home presentation because that's your moneymaker. And agents, Joe and I stress, you only need to be 75% proficient on learning the in-home presentation before you contact us to start role playing with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we truly mean it when we say, even though you're in business for yourself, you're never by yourself. Senior Solutions is with you every step of the way. So, Joe, I sort of want to put that out there because I'm sure probably about 50% of our attendance today is actually new agents. So welcome new agents to the Senior Solutions family. And just know you're not in this alone. Joe Johnson and I and the rest of the Senior Solutions team is with you every step of the way. Back to you, Joe.
Very good. All right, guys, we are going to go ahead. We're officially going to get this call kicked off. I appreciate everybody being on the call. And we really, I mean, it's going to be a great call. This is going to be a great call for brand new agents, agents that have been around for a while. And I think for, people that have been doing this for years and years and years, just maybe a little bit of a refresher and kind of a reminder of how to get things done right. And our topic today, what we're going to be talking about is field underwriting. And we labeled this, the topic is field underwriting like a boss. And I know for new agents, it seems to me that's like one of the number one questions I get is like, what carrier, who's the best carrier? What carrier should I go with? So what we're going to do today is we're going to simplify it. We're going to totally demystify it, and I'm going to break it down exactly the way I field underwrite and exactly how I do it and how you should be doing it. And I just tell you, man, if you do the field underwriting properly, there is no reason why you shouldn't get 95% of your business placed the way you expected it to. 95%, that means 19 out of 20 are going to get placed. You're going to have that one-off that are, something's going to happen, a prescription medication popped up, or sometimes you just, no fault of your own, you could be the best field underwriter on the planet, but you got that client who either lied to you or they just forgot. They forgot that they had cancer 2 years ago, maybe they have dementia and they forgot that they, take pills for their memory. So stuff comes up. But if you do what we're going to be teaching you today, here's what I can promise you, is that you can drastically increase your placement. And your placement is very, very important. The placement is the percentage of the applications you submit that actually get approved. I'm just telling you, it's much easier to do a really good job, be super diligent on the field underwriting up front versus, you've heard that saying, throw crap against the wall and see what sticks. I'm just telling you, it's more difficult just to submit an application, then they get declined. Now you're trying to figure out why they got declined. Now they got to go guaranteed issue. Now you got to go back to the client. You got to, explain, oh, sorry, you can't get first day coverage. It's going to be a 2-year graded and your premiums are going up $20 a month. It's much easier to handle that up front by doing a very good job on the field underwriting. And that's what we're going to do today. Guys, here at Senior Solutions, we pride ourselves on being leaders on training. We put out great content every single week. And the unique thing about our agency is that we provide the content for free to the public. In other words, we're putting these great training videos out there on YouTube, on our channel, for not only our own agents' benefit, but the entire community of final expense agents, you know. So that's the way I've always been. I've always been a believer in sharing things that are working. And you know what, Michael and I, we've recruited a lot of agents over the years of people that you know, they've seen our videos and they're like, man, I like what you guys are doing. You've got great content. I want to be part of your team. So that's good to know that people value the content that we're putting out there. Hey, just a couple real quick announcements, real quick. CVS, we're getting going with CVS, the new final expense product through Ascendo. Guys, be patient with us. We're getting the contracts in as soon as possible. All the new agents, we're getting your contract submitted. If you're an older agent, if you've been here around for a while and you have not been submitted to CVS Aetna for final expense, let me know and we can get that going for you. Also, Michael mentioned about the new agent starter kit. If you're on this call and you have not ordered your starter kit, make sure you get that done. These are your essential tools, what you need to go out and actually make an in-home presentation, having your flip chart, having your two-pocket folder, having professional business cards, and my goodness, you got to have that state licensed ID badge that really lends credibility when you're going out and you're knocking on doors, or even a preset appointment. You know, if you do a preset appointment over the phone and you show up and you've got that ID badge on, instantly it's lending you credibility that you are legit for sure. And just real quick to go over our senior management team, Joe Johnson, I'm your host today on the call. I typically host most of the calls and do a lot of the training. Michael Mahalik, he's the director of agency development for Senior Solutions. He's our national recruiter. A lot of you people, a lot of you agents that are on the call are here because of Michael, because you've had a conversation with him and you feel like Senior Solutions is the right fit for you. And then Jimmy Hernandez, one of our agency directors out there in Texas. Jimmy is not only a phenomenal life insurance agent on the final expense side, straight term IULs. Jimmy is also a certified financial planner and a certified tax advisor as well. And we really lean on Jimmy for a lot of our some of our bigger cases that we work on. Now, unfortunately, usually he gets on these calls. He's not able to attend this week, but he's already let me know he'll definitely be on next week and wants to share some great content with everybody on the team. So with that, our topic today, let's dive right into it, man, because I want to get into this and I want to make sure you stay to the end because I want to be able to do a Q&A if we do have any agents that do have any questions. But like I said, our topic today is field underwriting like a boss. And if you are watching this, I know a lot of people, you know, Senior Solutions agents and those agents that are out there. Guys, if you're watching this right now as a replay on YouTube, do me a favor, just subscribe to our channel. It helps us reach more people. If you subscribe, it also gives you access to the entire library of Senior Solutions pre-recorded webinars that we've done in the past. We've got, I think, well over 150 webinars with fantastic content from product training, sales training, overcoming objections, just about everything and anything you would need to know about running a final expense agency, you can find on the Senior Solutions channel if you just look for it. Even how to be organized, how to run your business, how to track your numbers. I mean, we've covered over the years, we've covered just about every topic there is. So I appreciate everybody who does take the time to subscribe. All right, field underwriting. Here's what I want to start out with. And Michael, by the way, anytime you feel the need to interject, if you've got a comment or something that you would like to add, please jump right in, okay?
You got it, Joe. And I think starting off, Joe, just to be upfront with everybody, sort of give full disclosure, there's no such thing as a perfect carrier. So that's why Senior Solutions brings our portfolio to the table, where really, as a final expense agent, you don't have to walk away from any carrier But just realize this, one thing that me, Joe, and Jimmy are going to tell everybody on this phone, at one time or another, you're going to have a love-hate relationship with every one of these carriers, just like family members. So definitely have an open mind. Just because you have a good experience with a carrier on one deal doesn't mean it won't work out for the next one. So back to you, Joe.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. That's a really, really good point on that. Don't fall in love with any one carrier, man. Spread your business out a little bit, and you'll find your favorite two or three. And that's what I do. I pretty much only use like two or three carriers when I'm out there. All right. Number one, what is the number one rule of field underwriting, Michael? And that is focus on the carriers you have, especially for newer agents. When you're in the contracting process, you don't need to wait until you get appointed with 6 different carriers to go out and write business. How many carriers do you need? How many writing numbers? How many carriers do you need to go out and write business? You just need one. So, whoever gives you their first writing number, whether it be, CVS, Mutual of Omaha, Liberty Bankers, whoever, it doesn't matter. Don't let that hold you back. Don't let the fact that you don't, if you're applying for 6 different carriers and you don't have all 6, don't let that hold you back. That is totally ridiculous. So number one rule of field underwriting is just focus on the carriers that you have at hand, for sure. Okay. So once you've got a couple of different writing numbers and you're actually out there making the in-home presentation, and what I want to do is just kind of transition real quick into the flip chart, because I want to get into the field underwriting as quickly as possible. I'm going to show you the last 2 pages of the flip chart. And then Michael, if you're okay with this, what I'd like to do is do a little bit of maybe like role play, how we do it. So guys, when
Sounds good, sir.
yeah, so like when I'm going through the flip chart, obviously I'm going through the expected benefits, and I'm covering the fact that the premiums are affordable, they're guaranteed never to increase. The death benefit is guaranteed never to decrease. The death benefit is paid guaranteed income tax free to your family, guaranteed never to be canceled due to any changes to your age or health. And then lastly, guaranteed cash value that accumulates over time that can be used for emergencies or other financial needs. Now, Michael, the best part about this program is that there's no medical exams. In fact, that's why I'm sitting here with you today, because I am a state licensed field underwriter. And a lot of times what I'll do, guys, is I'm sitting at the table, I'll actually kind of just grab my ID badge and shake it a little bit to get their attention so they see the words state licensed. So Michael, there are no medical exams, and you just point out that's why I'm here today. My job is to ask you the health questions so we can get you with the right company that's going to offer you the best program with the best value with the lowest premiums possible. And then we're going to transition and we're going to explore our options. I'm going to talk about the do nothing, which we all know is not a great option. Then I'm going to talk about the acquiring a prepaid plan from a funeral home. So I'm gonna talk about all the negativity on that. I'm going to talk about the upside. Now, the upside, what is the upside of having a prepaid funeral? Is that you can go to a funeral home, you can pre-plan everything, and you can stroke them a check for $15,000, and it's all paid for, But the problem is that the majority of the clients that we deal with, they're not rich. They can't go in there and stroke a check for $15,000. So the other option is they'd have to put that plan on layaway. Remember the old days when you go Christmas shopping? I don't think anybody does this anymore, but you could go to certain department stores and you could put things on layaway where you make payments on it. Well, you can do the same thing with a prepaid funeral plan. The only difference is that there's going to be high interest charges, and your clients are going to be trying to pay for a $10,000 funeral over a 5 or 7 year period, and they're going to end up with monthly premiums close to $200 to $300 a month. And then on top of it, what a lot of agents don't know, when you do a prepaid funeral, because if that client were to pass away prematurely, obviously their funeral's not paid for. The funeral home is going to try to sell them life insurance on top of the prepaid funeral. So why not just do number 3, which is acquire a final expense program, where ultimately this is the best option. This is where you can make affordable monthly premiums into a whole life policy that honestly really gives your clients or your family the freedom of choice to be able to use that money to negotiate with any funeral home across the nation. They're not locked into one funeral home, and they have the options to make the choices that are best for that family's needs. So I just wanted to talk about the flip chart a little bit, because I wanted to talk about the transition. So how do you transition from the flip chart into going into the field underwriting? So Michael, once I've done this section of the do nothing, and simply asked the client, I said, Michael, you tell me, which of the options do you think best is the best option for you? And then you're going to pick number 3. Well, number 3, the final expense plan. Great. Like I said, Michael, I am a state licensed field underwriter. It's simply my job today is just help get you qualified by asking you a few health questions. And the guys, this is when I'm going to transition into it. So if you were to refer back to the magic formula, Michael mentioned the magic formula in the beginning of the call, that if you're a new agent, this is one of the things that you want to do is, while you're learning the in-home presentation, is also you should be reading that magic formula, because it has the in-home presentation written out verbatim exactly what you need to say. So if you were to look on the in-home presentation, part 6, it's the application and health questions. So Michael, if you wouldn't mind role playing with me,
Definitely.
what I'm going to do is just simply preface it like this. This is what I'm going to say next. So Michael, I just need to ask you a few simple health questions. Now, Michael, I know this question may seem silly, but I am required to ask you. Michael, are you currently hospitalized or residing in a nursing home?
I am not, sir.
No, and then obviously that's kind of funny because I'm sitting with them, or I'm selling over the phone. And remember, the in-home presentation is transferable regardless of how you're making your presentation. So whether I'm doing it over the phone or I'm doing it face to face, when I transition into the health questions, it's gonna be the same way. So that's kind of the icebreaker to the health questions is, hey, are you currently residing in a nursing home, or are you hospitalized? No, I'm not. Ha ha ha. Well, Michael, in the last 5 years, have you had a heart attack, stroke, or cancer?
I have not, sir.
Okay. And by the way, while I'm doing this, guys, I usually have a piece of paper, and a lot of times what I'll already have out on the table is I'll have an application from one of the carriers. Which carrier? I really don't care. It could be any carrier, preferably a carrier that you're appointed with. Okay. So Michael says he hasn't had a heart attack, stroke, or cancer. Well, Michael, do you take any medications for diabetes or high blood sugar?
Yes, sir. I'm on metformin pills for my diabetes.
Okay, so your diabetes is controlled with pills only. You don't take any insulin?
That's correct.
Okay. And then Michael, out of curiosity, do you recall how long ago or what age you were when you were first diagnosed with your diabetes?
Unfortunately, diabetes runs in my family, so I think I was about 26 years old.
Okay, so you were 26, and but it's been controlled this whole time with just metformin?
Yeah, sure has, sir. I have a wonderful wife that makes sure I stay on my diet and that I exercise. We're mall walkers.
Oh, all right, awesome, awesome. Michael, with your diabetes, by chance, have you ever experienced any complications like insulin shock, diabetic coma, or possibly an amputation?
We have not. I have not, sir.
Okay. And then do you take anything for diabetic nerve pain? which they usually refer to as neuropathy?
I do not, but I do have some friends that take some called Lyrica, but I do not take anything for mine. I do not have
Okay.
nerve
All
pain.
right. Give me 1 second, guys. My phone is ringing. Let me put my phone on mute. Sorry about that. Okay, so you see what I'm doing is that I'm diving in. I'm asking. This is what we call asking the general health questions. So this is the way I like doing. I like asking the big stuff first, and then before I actually submit my application, trust me, I'm gonna go through all the questions on the application that I didn't ask, all the little stuff. But by asking these big questions first, I'm just telling you guys, usually within 5 minutes, sometimes less, 3 minutes, I can have this thing narrowed down to the exact carrier that I want to be using. So I know I got Michael. I've got a 65-year-old male. He's diabetic. He's been diabetic since age 27, and his diabetes is well under control. No insulin, no complications. Michael, do you have any lung diseases like COPD or chronic bronchitis, anything that would require the use of inhalers or oxygen?
I do not, sir.
Okay. And then Michael, in the last 5 years, have you had any surgeries or have you been hospitalized in the last 5 years? That would include maybe a stent, pacemaker, any type of procedure or hospitalization in the last 5 years.
I have not, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. And then Michael, besides your diabetes, what conditions are you currently taking medications for?
I have high cholesterol.
Oh, okay. And have your doctors told you with medication, is your cholesterol pretty much under control?
It is, sir.
Okay. So you notice even with the cholesterol, I'm not blowing it off. I'm still asking a question about it. Okay. So Michael, if I'm getting a clear picture here, you take medication for diabetes, you take a little medication for cholesterol, which is under control. Are there any other conditions that you can think of that you've been treated for that we didn't name?
No, sir. Other than that, I'm healthy as a horse.
Okay. And one last question, Michael. Are there any medications that you're not taking now that maybe you were taking that you've stopped over the last 5 years?
They're not, sir.
Okay. And then, Michael, do you use any tobacco products? Do you dip, chew, smoke?
No, Joe, I stopped 40 years ago when we had our first child.
Oh, okay, wonderful. All right. So you don't even use like a nicotine patch or anything like that?
Not.
Oh, okay. All right. So guys, that is the basis of field underwriting. I feel like I did just with this little bit of a scenario, I did a pretty good job of narrowing it down that I need to find Michael a carrier that will accept diabetes at age 27 with uh, and he hasn't had any complications. Okay. Now, if Michael had said yes to some of these other things, like a heart attack, I would drill down the same way I drilled down on the diabetes. Let's say Michael said, "Yeah, I had a heart attack. Yeah, it was in the last 5 years." Well, Michael, out of curiosity, when did you have that heart attack? Okay. He'll give me a date. Well, it was about 3 years ago. Okay. Did you have a procedure? Did you have a stent put in? Did you do bypass? What medications are you taking? I'm sure your doctor put you on a blood thinner. Oh yeah, I'm taking Coumadin or there's Plavix. There's a million different blood thinners. Okay, so with that, hypothetically, let's say Michael is diabetic. He's been diabetic for a long time, and he had a heart attack 3 years ago, and he's on blood thinners. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, I need to find a carrier that's diabetic friendly before age 30, and I need to find a carrier that's okay with blood thinners. So what I'm going to do from here is if I don't know that carrier off the top of my head, I'm going to refer to the Senior Solutions cheat sheet. Okay, guys, the Senior Solutions cheat sheet is a working document. I'm probably updating and making changes to this thing, once a month, every 6 months. as many times as needed. And the one thing that I'll just say this, I appreciate all the agents that have corrected me on a few things. You know, I'm the one that put this cheat sheet together. It's not from the carriers. It took me a long, long time to diligently go through and analyze the underwriting guidelines and call carriers and ask a million questions to make sure that I'm bringing you a product that is going to be as accurate as possible, but it's not foolproof. The cheat sheet is a guideline. It is not a foolproof system. There are potentially going to be errors in there. What I encourage you as an agent, if you run into an error, if you find something on the cheat sheet that is incorrect, please get with me as soon as possible so I can check it out and verify it. And if we need to make a correction, we can make the correction, okay? But with Michael's situation, let me get a highlighter here real quick. Michael, how are we doing so far? This good information?
We are doing wonderful, sir, and we're laying it right out, sort of giving a step by step.
Here we go. Okay, so we know Michael had a heart attack and it was a little bit over 3 years ago. So here we are looking at heart attack over 3 years. What carrier is good for that? Well, I just look right here at the top. TA, preferred, Moo, level, Foresters, preferred, Liberty, preferred, Americo, level, Royal Neighbors, level, Prosperity, level, preferred, elite. So real easily, because Michael's heart attack was 3 years ago, it pretty much opens up every carrier on this cheat sheet is okay with a heart attack. If it was over 2 years ago, it's like it didn't even happen. It didn't, you know, it's like they get the benefit that it was over 2 years ago. They've been treated, and it's like forgiveness, you know, which is awesome. So the next thing that Michael had wrong with him is diabetes. So I want to go to the page with diabetes. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit and find diabetes. Here we go, diabetes. So let's read here. Insulin use after the age of 50. I don't have to worry about the insulin. Insulin use diagnosed after 50. That's not Michael. Michael was no insulin use diagnosed before 50. Okay, so we can look right here. We know TA is good if and that little asterisk means is that as long as your diabetes was diagnosed after the age of 20 with no complications, you're good. Let's see, Moo's going to be graded. Foresters, thing about Foresters is that there's no age listed. So Foresters is one of those carriers, they could care less at what age were you diagnosed as long as you don't have complications. If you have neuropathy or if you've had a diabetic complication, obviously like insulin shock, you're going to be graded, or actually those would be a decline, but neuropathy is graded, okay? Liberty Bankers goes all the way down to age 9. So that would be a great carrier. Americo, no age limit listed. He could get level there. Royal Neighbors, hey, that's a knockout, because look here, Royal Neighbors says, well, no, that's insulin. Actually, he'd be good because Michael never took insulin, so he could get Royal Neighbors. Prosperity, no age listed. CVS, no age listed. CFG, look at all these awesome carriers that we have that literally do not care about your what age you got diagnosed with diabetes, as long as it's under control. So with diabetes, it's pretty much wide open here. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go down and I want to see for blood thinners. Now here's what I'm going to tell you. This thing about blood thinners is a little bit, there's a few gray areas there. So this is the one area where you really kind of need to be careful. And it's hard to list everything because some carriers are a little bit picky with blood thinners if you were just put on them. Here's the thing to remember about blood thinners when it comes to underwriting. The longer your client has been on blood thinners, the better. Maybe it's a little bit counterintuitive. You think it would be different, right? Oh, well, yeah, they're on blood thinners, but they just started 6 months ago. That's a bad thing. If your client has been on blood thinners for 10 years, that's a good thing. Okay, so just kind of remember that may be a little bit different than what you're thinking. So what carriers are good with blood thinners? Well, Transamerica, Mutual of Omaha, Foresters, Liberty Bankers is standard. So right there, I knew Liberty Bankers was good with the diabetes, but because he's on blood thinners, I'm gonna rule out Liberty Bankers on this. Americo, possible level. Why does it say possible? Depends on how long he's been on blood thinners. So in this case, let's assume that Michael's been on blood thinners for 3 years, ever since he had his heart attack. Okay. Royal Neighbors is level, Prosperity is level, CVS is preferred. So in this case, let's see, I may just put Michael with CVS, because look at here, diabetes. I know that there's no age listed, they don't care. And whoops, I went too far. Sorry, let me go back here. Here we go. And then blood thinner use. There we go, preferred. So Michael, you see how we're doing that? How we're using the cheat sheet to kind of narrow down our carrier? Guys, and
keep it simple, people. Keep it simple. Always carry. Most of our agents still actually take this to FedEx, Kinko's, and they laminate it, and they always keep it with them. Yeah,
well, that's a good point, but the only problem with laminating it is that it's a working document, so it changes a lot. So I don't laminate mine. I just reprint it every time I need it. If I wear it out, I just reprint it.
Yes,
if you want to get it laminated, that's fine. But if I change it next week, do you really want to have to go get it laminated again? So do you see how we're simplifying this, guys? Now, if it turns out there's a carrier on here that you're not contracted with, don't worry about it. Again, narrow your focus on the carrier that you got. And in worst case scenario, if your client has, multiple problems in their, kidney dialysis and oxygen, there are some situations where you just got to go guaranteed issue. And the one thing that you notice on the cheat sheet is that there are no guaranteed issue companies listed. Why? Because they don't need to be listed. They're guaranteed issue. So as an example, I'll just give you an example. Let me go up here. Let's say in use now. As an example, let's say you walk into a house and your clients, they're on oxygen. Well, it's graded, decline, 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 guaranteed issue, decline, 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 graded. Okay, so you got two options. You got TA or CFG that will accept them graded, but I promise you, those premiums are so outrageous, you're better off putting that client with Gerber than you are with the CFG or the TA graded. Their graded premium is more than likely, if you check it out, it's probably going to be higher than what the than like a Gerber and just going guaranteed issue. So guys, this is the process of elimination. This is what you go through, and this is how you use the cheat sheet. So once I go through the cheat sheet, and then I know Michael, in this case, with you, Michael, we decided we're going to go CVS. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because they're good with the heart attack, they're good with the blood thinners, and they're good with your diabetes diagnosed at age 27. Okay, what are we going to do next? All right, let me scroll through the cheat sheet. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get the carrier knockout drug list just to make sure. Okay, now typically I'm using this knockout list when the client has a medication that I'm not familiar with and they don't know why they're taking it. Okay, it does happen sometimes. Now, What you got to remember, most of the carriers offer this knockout drug list. Not all of them, but the majority of them offer a knockout drug list. Okay, what you got to remember is that if it's not on this list, that means the carrier doesn't care about it for the most part, unless it's some new drug. So typically what I will do is that if a client is taking a medication, I don't know what it is, they don't know what it's for, because I ask them, and I'm going through their medications and I said, hey, Michael, you're taking this medication, out of curiosity, what do you take this medication for? And Michael gives me the deer in headlights look, and he's like, I don't know, just my doctor gave it to me after I had my heart attack. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to look it up and see if it's on the knockout list, and then I'll Google it. I'll put in the name of the drug. I'll Google it and find out what uses it's for. Okay, but if it's not on the list, typically you don't have to worry about it. These are only drugs that you got to worry about. Let's see if we can do like an example here. Like here's one here. Okay, so here's an example. Advair. Okay, you get a client with COPD. Let's say they're on Advair. You look at the drug knockout list. It says if they're using it for COPD, emphysema, chronic respiratory condition, you see how there's a dot there? That means they wouldn't qualify for that product, but they could still get standard or modified. So as an example with CVS, if you have a client, you see all these different medications, the albuterol, all these different medications, it knocks them out of getting preferred, but they can still get standard. If they're taking a medication, like right here, this one says it's for angina. Potentially they could get a modified program with CVS. This is how the knockout drug list works. Now, after I've gone through all the medication and I've made my determination, in this case, I'm going to place Michael with CVS and I'm going to quote him the preferred rate just to double check. And remember, I'm obligated by the carriers and I'm obligated under contract. When I put my signature on that application, I'm obligated to ask the client all the questions that are on the application. So before I actually do the let's say phone interview or I do the e-application, I'm going to go through the health questions. Now, if I've done a good job of field underwriting, okay, and if I'm going to do an e-application, potentially you could skip this part with the paper application because you're going to have to read the client all the questions on the e-application anyway. But ideally, what I want to do is I want to go through the paper application and just make sure I can skim through and just make sure I didn't miss anything. If it's a repeat, as an example, if it's talking about, heart attack, stroke, or cancer, I don't necessarily need to repeat that question because I've already asked it once. So basically, by the time you get to this point, you already know what carrier. This is just like going through the application is basically just like the final check before you actually submit the application. The other thing that I'm going to do after I get Michael qualified is don't forget, once I do the qualification, the next step is I've got to close Michael on the premiums. So the transition, which we're not going to be talking about today, but the transition from field underwriting is going from that to actually doing the quotes, which is doing the 3-option close. So as an example, in this case, with Michael, I'm quoting him CVS Aetna. I'm going to do my 3-option worksheet, and then I'm going to close Michael on premium. Once I close him, then I'm going to go ahead and open up my tablet or my laptop, or I could do a paper application if I choose to do paper, but I'm going to go ahead and finalize the application. I'm going to determine the monthly premiums, when Michael wants that policy to start. Usually your clients are going to want to get the premiums coordinated with their Social Security benefits. Just as an example, let's say I close Michael. I closed them at $75 a month for $15,000. We're going through the application. Once I close him on the premiums, the first question I'm going to ask, Michael, out of curiosity, who do you want the beneficiary to be? In other words, who do you want this $15,000 to go to? So
My
he's
son Christopher is going to be my beneficiary, Joe.
beneficiary. Okay. And Michael, when did you want this policy to actually go into place, or how I should say is, Michael, when would you like this policy to start?
Oh, well, Joe, I get my Social Security check on the 3rd of each month.
Okay, all right. So Michael, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll get you approved, and we'll go ahead and get this started so the first premium comes out on September the 3rd. Is that okay?
That is perfect.
Okay, and that's when you get your Social Security payment?
That is, sir.
Okay, and I'm assuming it goes to either a checking or savings account?
It goes to our checking account with Bank of
Oh,
America.
Michael, who do you bank with?
Bank of America.
Okay, Bank of America. So that's how I'm going to transition. I'm going to ask the name of the carrier. I'm going to ask, when does he want the policy to get started? Okay. And then I'm going to find out when he gets his Social Security. We're going to get it coordinated with Social Security. Who's your banking information with? Hey, Michael, out of curiosity, do you have your account number memorized, or do you need to go grab your checkbook?
I actually need to go grab my checkbook. I can do that real quick.
Okay, go ahead and do that. I'm going to wait for Michael to come back. And guys, that's the whole process of field underwriting. Just honestly, don't make it any more complicated than what we're talking about. Again, just to recap, we're asking the general health questions, which you can get off of the script from the magic formula. It's utilizing the cheat sheet to determine off the general health questions which carrier is going to be the best fit. And then I'm just going to do my drill down. I'm just going to double check, make sure none of the medications that Michael is taking is on the knockout list for the carrier. And then I'm simply going to go through and I'm going to quickly breeze through the actual physical application of the carrier I'm going to place them with, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, because there have been situations where I've missed something with a carrier that I didn't ask. As an example, usually the ones that will catch me is like some carriers ask questions about driving record, a DUI or something like that. And I'm just thinking about health. And next thing you know, I'm reading through, I'm doing my double check at the end, and I'm going through the health questions. I say, Michael, you haven't had any DUIs in the last 3 years. Oh, well, actually, I did have one about a year ago. Okay, that's why you want to double check and make sure that you do go through all the health questions, just to make sure that you didn't miss anything. Like, has Michael been in and out of rehab,
Yep.
drug or alcohol abuse? Those questions are not on my general list, but sometimes they'll come up when I ask the question about being hospitalized. Hey, Michael, have you been hospitalized in the last 5 years? Well, I had to go to, it was, drug addiction or whatever. Then I got to look at the carrier. I got to isolate the carrier that is a little bit more lenient about drug use, or which carrier doesn't care if you've had, 3 DUIs in the last 5 years and your driver's license is suspended. So,
Hey, Joe, just to intersect some real quick, one thing, ladies and gentlemen, that we've seen really change over the years is how many people have the psychiatric problems now, like bipolar, schizophrenia, mild or big depression. I think you'd probably agree, Joe, over the years, we have really seen that increase with our clients.
It's horrible, man. I mean, I'm surprised the amount of people that are on those medications. So we do have it listed here. If you look right here, we've got bipolar depression and schizophrenia. So, if you got a client that is really, off their rocker, I get these clients that they're taking bipolar medication, they're schizophrenic, they're taking, what do they call it? Antipsychotic medication is literally what if you Google it, that's what it says, antipsychotic medication. Man, you got to look for a carrier who's okay with some of the mental issues. And then you got to do the follow-up question. If the client says, yeah, I got, I'm diagnosed with schizophrenia. Well, out of curiosity, have you been hospitalized due to your schizophrenia? Well, yeah, I was in the hospital. Then you got to make sure, and this is something new that we just added to the cheat sheet. This is why you want to make sure you are always getting an updated copy of this. Is just recently I updated hospital use. Here you go. Hospitalized in the last 12 months. This is brand new. We'll just go through it real quick. Who's okay with it? So Transamerica doesn't care if you just got out of the hospital, as long as you're answering no to all the other questions. Mutual of Omaha is okay. Forster's okay. Liberty Bankers is a decline. If you've been hospitalized in the last 12 months, they're not a big fan of that. Americo, this is greater than. So if you guys know how to read the greater and less than sign, this is the greater and sign. So greater than 6 months, you're okay. So Americo saying is, as long as your hospitalized was more than 6 months ago, you're okay. Rural Neighbors, you're okay. They don't ask the question if you've been hospitalized within the last year. Prosperity is in the last 30 days. If it's over 30 days, you're okay. CVS and CFG are okay with hospitalizations. So again, this is something that's brand new that has been added to the cheat sheet. All right, Michael, let's see if we have, let me do a quick time check. Okay, so we got plenty of time. It's only 11:18 Central Time. Let's see if we have any questions here. We're gonna do a quick Q&A. I appreciate everybody being on the call, and then we'll let everybody go for the weekend. If you have any questions, let me know. Let's see here. Let's start at the top. Oh, Brenda, you're number one. You're muted. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you. So we have Brenda.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Brenda, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Are you, is Robert with you, or is he somewhere else?
He's across the room in his office. We're together though.
That's so funny. All right, what is your question?
I do not have the updated cheat sheet.
No, nobody does, Brenda. I just updated it last night.
Oh. Okay. I had out the old one while you were going over things. I thought, oh, wait a minute, this is very different than the one you have. So
yeah, I'm gonna get the this updated version. I'm gonna email it to everybody this afternoon, so you'll have it, I promise.
Well, I appreciate it, and I really appreciate the webinar. It's great.
No, I appreciate you. Anything else other than just wanting to get the updated cheat sheet?
Not at all, but I appreciate all the information I got today. It makes it a little easier for me to understand how things work. So thank you.
All right, no problem. Tell your husband I said hello.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, awesome. Thanks.
Joe says hello.
I love these guys. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions. And then Michael, while I'm going through this, any?
Oh, yes, sir. A couple of other things. Ladies and gentlemen,
Jimmy,
we went over
yeah, let me get Jimmy on. I didn't think he was going to be on, but I think he may want to interject some things. Jimmy, are you there?
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Jimmy, you're on.
Hey, Joe, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good.
I didn't think you were going to be on today, buddy. Sorry about that. I would have unmuted you a long time ago.
Oh, it's all right. I had one of my case designers for annuities call me back just a second before you greeted me. But anyhow, hey, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I get this question quite a bit, Joe, and I don't know if I'm the only manager out there that gets this question, but a lot of my agents, they'll come back and they'll say, hey, Jimmy, what about if they have arthritis, or what if they have, Crohn's disease, or what if they have, all these different, I guess, medical concerns or issues out there, and none of which they're asked on the application. So the question's not on the application, but I get all these, well, what about this? What about this? So what do you think about that, Joe?
Very good question. It's kind of like that drug knockout list. If it's not on the list, don't worry about it. So, so if they have rheumatoid arthritis, or they have Crohn's disease, or now the only ones that are a little bit gray, where on which you do have to be a little bit careful on, is with neurological diseases. So you may have a client that has I don't know, let's say they have multiple sclerosis, but the application doesn't list multiple sclerosis, but it throws in the word neurological disease. Well, or neurological, or what's the one there's another word I'm thinking of that I can't think of. So sometimes those can be a little bit, a little bit tricky, but guys, like the common stuff you run into, arthritis and stuff like, my client has high blood pressure. It's not even a question on the application. So generally speaking, if it's not on the application, remember, the application itself is the field underwriting guideline. So if it's not asking the question, then the carrier could care less whether or not that client has that issue. Does that help at all?
That's well said. I love the way you phrased that. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is, if you have that client that pulls out, let's say, for example, the soft pack ice chest, and it has all their meds in there, right?
Yeah.
And you're dealing with somebody that has, quite a few medical concerns. You might want to ask them, have you changed any medications within the last couple of years, something that you're no longer taking now that you used to take, and see if they can remember that, because that might be on the drug list. So it could be that, maybe 3 months ago, the doctor changed them off of a drug. And so you just need to be aware of any changes. That's probably a good question to ask anybody, but, especially those people that have a lot of medications, they're probably been moved on and off different drugs till they found the right thing that worked for them. So just kind of keep that in mind. So I've had that come back to bite me. Oh, they're turned down, or maybe they're graded because of this medication and they're no longer taking it. When I ask the client about it, they're like, oh yeah, I used to take that one, but they changed it. So also, when in doubt, like in a scenario like that, when in doubt, what do? Call the carrier and ask for a risk assessment.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing too, Jimmy, is that most of the carriers that we're using today, you can get an on-the-spot decision, whether it be CVS, Liberty Bankers, Mutual of Omaha. I mean, virtually every carrier we have. I'm trying to think of one. I don't think there's one carrier where you can't get an instant decision. Take your time and, go through the field underwriting and go through the application and get your client approved on the spot. Because if they get turned down, sometimes it's easier to flip them to a different product or a different program versus having to come back at a later date, rebook another appointment or go back or try to catch them. The other thing too that Jimmy was talking about is that that client that has that big, I love what you're talking about, they bring out the igloo cooler with all their medications in there. Is don't be in a hurry. You know, literally, if they've got 15 medications, it doesn't take that long. Be thorough. Go through all 15 medications. You know, what I do is we pull them all I pull everything out of the cooler, put it on the kitchen table, and then as I ask each one, we put it back into the cooler. What are you taking this one for? If they don't know, I look it up. You know, and the other thing you just got to be a little careful on is some of those dual use medications.
Yep.
You know, we don't run into it a lot, but sometimes you'll get that client I don't know the name of the medication, but they have something that's called restless leg syndrome. And every time you Google the medication, it says it's for Parkinson's, even though they don't have Parkinson's. So just got to make sure that you are kind of double checking some of the medications, especially some of the high blood pressure. Some of these high blood pressure medicines say that they could be used for angina, congestive heart failure, irregular heartbeat. So make sure that you know that they are just for high blood pressure. So if I'm looking up that medication, I say, oh, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Client, what do you take this medication for? Oh, high blood pressure. Well, it says here this medication can also be used for chest pains or irregular heartbeat. Have you ever been diagnosed with either? Oh no, I just have high blood pressure. So you're kind of going through the process of clarifying. And trust me, you'll get good at field underwriting once you've been doing a few and you get like 3 or 4 clients declined, or you'll get a carrier that will say, well, why are they taking this medication? Do they have, you know, angina, or do they have congestive heart failure, or do they have an irregular heartbeat? And you got to call back and ask that client. If you do it all up front, then you could put in, you know, some of these dual use medications. You can write yourself a note or even notate it on the application where available. So that way, when the underwriter pulls it up, oh man, I love Joe Johnson because he did a great job of field underwriting. He listed this medication and listed that it's used for high blood pressure, you know, not anything else. So let's see if we're almost out of time, guys.
Hey, Joe, we have I just received a text from Karen Morales. She is in Orlando and she has a
her
question.
hand up. Okay, go ahead. What's the question?
She did not. She just sent me that she wants us to unmute her.
Oh, okay, got it. Hi, Karen, we're unmuting you right now.
Hi, good morning. I'm Karen Lugo from Port Orange.
Hello, Karen, how are you?
I'm fine. I have a few questions too about application for individual whole life insurance. This is a application that you use for all carriers.
Is there like one application you use for all carriers?
Yeah, that's one my question. I have to.
No, there is not. Each carrier has their own individual application. We use what we just covered today on the webinar. We use to narrow down what application we should be using. That paper application that you saw on the webinar just happened to be one from CVS. But typically what we're doing is we're narrowing down the process. We're asking the general questions. We're utilizing the cheat sheet. From the cheat sheet, I'm able to narrow down which carrier I want to be using. And then usually when I'm out into the field, Karen, I'm only prepared to quote, let's say 4 carriers only. I'll have 3 primary carriers, and then I'll have a guaranteed issue. I don't want to go out there with like 10 different applications. I want to narrow it down to just like, honestly, like 3 carriers and a guaranteed issue. Maybe even only 2 carriers. I want to make it as easy as possible.
I like that. I like the cheat sheet.
And we will help you on a one-on-one basis. The other thing too, guys, is that we're here to help you. So especially if you're a brand new agent and we know that you're running appointments or you're going to be out there door knocking and you have the potential of making an in-home presentation, give myself a call, give Jimmy a call, give Michael a call. Let us know that you're in the home and we can help you evaluate and do a risk assessment right there on the spot.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions?
The second question and the last one for me.
Okay, no problem.
The CVS carrier knockout drug list is for all carriers. So this is a generic medications questionnaire, right? Questions
No,
that you
it's
do
not.
for all carriers.
No, it's not generic, but it will tell you what they're for. So as an example, let me get back to this. Okay, so I just put this up. So what you can see here is, as an example, let's say this Advair, okay? So if it's listed on here, you can look to see what the condition is. That will tell you the condition, but the dots here are only for CVS. So like each carrier has their knockout list, but you could use the knockout list from any carrier to determine what the condition is. And then
Okay.
if it doesn't have a condition listed, as an example, these medications here, CVS is saying they don't care what you're taking it for. You're not getting approved. They don't even list a condition. Okay, that's the whole point of having the knockout. And this is why, Karen, this is a great point. This is why when you're going out into the field, especially when you're new, to narrow down the carriers that you're working with. And again, just focus on the ones that you're getting your writing numbers with. And I never, when I go out to meet clients, trust me, my portfolio, I'm not going out there with all 9 different carriers. I'm just going out there with just a few. Okay?
Yes.
We got to make it simple. And we will work with every agent on an individual basis based on the carriers that you have available to determine which product and which risk class your client should be quoted. So
Okay.
awesome.
Perfect.
That was a fantastic question. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And welcome to the team.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Great to have you. Okay, let's just see. That's actually it. Let me go back up. Okay. All right. Well, if you guys, we're going to go ahead and end the call. We don't want to run too late. So I appreciate everybody taking the time to be on today's call. I hope this has been helpful. We're going to get this up on our YouTube channel so you can evaluate it. I promise you, everybody that is registered for the webinar is going to get a copy of the updated cheat sheet. I just got to put it into a PDF format, and I promise I will get it emailed to you later today. And I sincerely appreciate everybody that took the time to be on the call. Michael and Jimmy, I appreciate you guys so much. I mean, this is what makes Senior Solutions special, is you guys.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, buddy. All right. All right, everybody have a great weekend. God bless. And if you have any other questions we didn't get to, just text myself, Jimmy, or Michael, and we will get you the answer to your question. Take care.